Watch this.
The last time gas prices were getting this much attention was way back in 2008. But since we've blown past those records set 14 years ago, some Idaho lawmakers are calling for action to see if they can help cut costs. Their request is now in the hands of the governor. Gas isn't the only thing getting more expensive. It's just about everything. 13 years ago, we took a look at the price of groceries. So what do those prices look like these days? The book ban in Nampa School District is still fresh and still being considered. We're getting another perspective from a district librarian and a high school teacher who wonder where they go from here. Well, today's the day. The day we set the record for the highest price we pay for a gallon of gas in Idaho. Yesterday, that record was $4.97. Today, we went above $5 for the first time ever. $5.02 to be exact. And if you made the mistake of not filling up your tank yesterday, well, you're paying 5 cents more on average per gallon today. Some states have been working to tackle this issue with ideas like tax rebate checks to help offset some of these rising costs we're seeing. Here in Idaho, there's been some chatter about what can be done locally, and today, 2 state Democratic lawmakers offered an idea, and it would involve the governor calling a special session, a high bar to meet most years. Joe Paris spoke with the Dems about their idea and how it could help Idahoans struggling with inflation.
Sometimes finding the pulse of the people, a big thing everyone seems to be talking about, it's pretty easy to find. These days, the electronic numbers at the gas station are the big table talker. Just ask Idaho Representative James Ruckty, who found it easy to hear the voice of the people while out at breakfast in Pocatello.
I sit close enough to the counter that I can hear, what people are talking about at the counter. And this week and last week, it's gas prices and how much it costs to fill up that tank of gas.
AAA reports that the national average for a gallon of gas is $4.95. The average across Idaho is about $5.03 a gallon. Both averages are up in recent days and weeks. So, Democrat Representative James Ruckty and his colleague, Senator David Nelson, sent this letter to Governor Little, proposing an idea.
Senator Nelson and I are proposing that we do a special session. We meet for the sole purpose of considering a gas tax holiday piece of legislation.
A special legislative session can only be called by Governor Little. And if he did call a special session in response to the proposal, Ruckty says that Democrats only want one bill considered. This bill. It would essentially pause Idaho's tax on gas for 6 months. The current gas tax in Idaho is 32 cents a gallon, meaning Idahoans would get some relief at the pump.
This is a great way to get money back in the pockets of Idahoans who they're going to go spend it on the economy. And you can think of it as a targeted tax break.
Idaho's gas tax goes towards Gem State roads and maintenance, and the proposed gas tax holiday would cost the state about $180 million that would go towards that. Ruckty and Nelson point to the state's budget surplus as a solution to making that fund whole.
We would just use a small portion of that budget surplus to pay for roads because that's where the gas tax money goes.
Ruckty says a big plus for him in the proposal is the concept that the gas tax will help all Idahoans who fill up the tank.
The thing I like about this gas tax holiday is, Idaho families of all shapes and sizes are going to be able to use it, and small businesses will benefit. If you have a fleet of cars, or even if your employees have to travel the state, and this will save your business money.
If Governor Little calls a special session and this draft idea does pass, Ruckty said the concept would take a little time to set up. But with no sign of gas prices going back towards the $3 mark, the belief is that the tax holiday would still be greatly beneficial.
It might take us about 3 months to figure out how to actually get everything in place before it's implemented, but that's the idea. Every time you go fill up a gallon of gas, you're going to save 32 cents.
Sitting at home during this story, I know you might have started doing some math, and even with the 32 cent a gallon break, you'll know that gas prices would still be in the neighborhood of $4.50, a lot more than I know Idahoans want to pay. Now, Ruckty says nobody should pretend that his proposal is the end-all be-all fix. He says this is simply a start.
I don't pretend that this is the only thing that can be done, but when Idahoans need help, this is a great way to show that government is listening. And, the governor can call a special session. I think it'll get bipartisan support because in every legislative district throughout Idaho, you've got families that are dealing with this. So there's a lot of incentive for us to act.
So as we established, there's a lot of power right now for Governor Little, a lot for him to consider, and I reached out to the governor's office for a reaction to the letter the Dems sent and their request for a special session. His office responded with a statement saying the following. Here you go, quote, Governor Little received the letter from Idaho Democrats and he is reviewing the request, his statement says. Governor Little and Republicans in the Idaho legislature this year championed immediate and ongoing historic tax relief for working Idahoans. Now, they look to offset the gas prices, and they're addressing problems created by, they say, President Joe Biden and the Democrats' mishandling of the economy. The statement continues that every single Idaho Democrat legislator voted against the ongoing tax cuts and immediate tax rebates just a few months ago. Governor Little clearly stated last month he plans to cut taxes even further with the state's budget surplus to build on 3 straight years of unprecedented tax relief for Idahoans. Again, that is the comment from Governor Little's office this afternoon. It's wait and see, though. The governor, again, he received the request. He's going to maybe call a special session. I've talked to a handful of Republican and Democrat lawmakers today. Really, the feeling is it's wait and see. But some that I speak with say they're not so sure he's going to call the special session. But we do know Idahoans are calling on the governor and lawmakers to do something about this.
Yeah, I think that would, as he said, you would think bipartisan support would be for this to get rid of a tax rebate that Democrats are proposing. It'd be interesting to see what the other side of that is. And if he doesn't call the session, I guess we won't hear too much about it.
The other question I've heard from people is, does this go far enough? 32 cents a gallon, as we highlighted, gas would still be very expensive. So could we see a more aggressive measure taken? The state of Idaho does have a lot of surplus dollars. Again, only Governor Little knows who's going to call the special session. So really it is wait and see for the rest of us.
Got to start somewhere.
Yep.
All right, thanks, Joe. As Joe mentioned, on average, we're paying the highest price for unleaded gasoline ever, like in the history of gauging the price of gas. Before these last few months, the highest we ever paid for a gallon in Idaho was back in July of 2008 when we paid $4.16. The gouging of gas prices aside, that got us thinking about what we used to pay for things here in the Treasure Valley specifically. Considering inflation, are things way more expensive than they used to be? Well, to compare, we found a story we did back in 2009 when our digital team went out and did a price comparison on who had the cheapest groceries in town. They went out and bought 13 items at 4 stores, everything from bread to grapes to ground beef, pizza to potatoes to potato chips, grains to dairy to drinks. You can see that list right there on your screen, and you can see the prices that it cost back in 2009 at Albertsons. We went to Albertsons, we went to Fred Meyer, went to Winco, went to Walmart, and you can see some of those prices there, even like $4.50 for a frozen pizza. So just so you know, Winco came up the winner with those 13 items for less than $30, well, 13 years ago. Walmart wasn't too far behind, followed by Fred Meyer and Albertsons. So what if we went and priced those same 13 products nearly 13 years apart? Granted, not everything was the same. For example, we couldn't find Wonder Bread, which is on that list. We counted just 1 yogurt instead of 5 like they did back then, and some of the sizes of the products have changed. But we did our best to compare the prices between the 2 years separated by a baker's dozen to see how much more we are paying for groceries, well, certain groceries anyway, in 2022 than we paid in 2009. Let's start with the basics, like bread. Here's what a loaf cost, respectively, at the end of October 2009. Today, at Albertsons, 24 ounces of Bread Lovers white bread was $4.69. At Fred Meyer, you're paying more than $1 less at $2.99. At Winco, that same loaf was $2.38. With Walmart, 6 cents more at $2.44. A dozen eggs, store brand, large double A, back in 2009, all under $2. Today at Albertsons, they are $2.19. You'll pay 20 cents more at Fred Meyer, and at Winco, you can still get a dozen for $1.78, while Walmart, it's nearly twice that at $2.97. You could get a gallon of 1% milk in 2009 for around $2. Today, it's nearly double, $4 at Albertsons, but $1 cheaper at Fred Meyer, only $2.69 at Winco, and $3.36 at Walmart. Need something to pour that milk over? How about an 18-ounce family-size box of Cheerios, which in 2009 was somewhere in the $4 range. June of 2022, it will set you back nearly $7 at Albertsons, $5.69 at Fred Meyer, $4.84 at Winco, and only $4.48 at Walmart. How about some hamburger? A pound of 73% lean ground beef today at Albertsons, $4.59. At Fred Meyer, it's 20 cents more. But at Winco, it's 20 cents cheaper. Walmart, kind of in the middle, at $4.64 a pound. In the frozen section, a Red Baron pepperoni pizza would cost you a little more than $4 back in 2009. Today, that 20-ounce disc is nearly $6 at Albertsons, nearly $5 at Fred Meyer, a little more than $4 at Winco, and $4.50 at Walmart. Want to wash that down with a Coca-Cola? A 12-pack of Coke in 2009, about $4.60 on average in those days. These days, a bit more. $7.99 at Albertsons, $6.99 at Fred Meyer, $5.98 at Winco, and $6.18 at Walmart. The total tally for our 13 items? Well, you'd pay $51.87 at Albertsons, $43.57 at Fred Meyer, and $36.25 at Winco. At Walmart, you're paying just over $39. Which means, like in 2009, the cheapest grocery bill is at Winco, where you'd pay a little more than $8 more today. Okay, so a lot of those factors to consider with those numbers. We didn't account for those club prices you can get, with Albertsons and Fred Meyer, because you couldn't get those at Winco or Walmart. So we just went head-to-head. Whatever price was on the board, that's what we went with. And obviously, inflation has a lot to do with the increase in prices. We're seeing numbers like we haven't seen in 40 years, we're told, according to economic experts. Back in October of 2009, though, we were coming out of the Great Recession. Remember? When inflation was actually in the tank. We're talking negative numbers for most of that year. The lowest we've seen in a lot longer than 40 years, by the way. Inflation actually eased a bit last month, though. Putting those numbers into an inflation calculator, if in 2009, you can find these online, by the way, we spent $28.02 at Winco to buy those groceries. If in 2009 we spent that number, then in 2022, those same items should cost us about $37.76 based on an inflation rate of 34.8% over that period of time. A dollar today only buys 74% or thereabouts of what it could buy back then. And since we spent $36.25 today, I guess we kind of came out $1.50 ahead. A written plan for guidelines about the written word. That's what the Nampa School Board is aiming to do. And we're going to share some of their discussion about a possibility of banning more books in the future. Also, you don't have to put pen to paper to share your thoughts with us. All you have to do is text us, 208-321-5614. That's how you become a part of the 208 conversation. But keep them clean, keep them concise, and keep them clever. Oh, and don't forget the hashtag the 208 and your name. That way we can share yours at the end of the show. On Monday, Nampa School Board trustees that came together for a special work session that evening to address the recent removal of books from their district library shelves. Session didn't lead to any decisions. They were just there to listen to ideas, but there was a lot of discussion surrounding the process for challenged books. Those closest to this process would be the librarians who spoke up during the work session, and one of them also spoke to Katya Stepovic about the path forward.
On Monday, Nampa School Board trustees came together to try and find a path forward on their book challenging process.
There was some processes in place for this challenge book process, but personally, I just didn't see all of it at one time written down, something that I could hand to a parent in the community when asked, what is the process for challenging books?
And for some board members, the move to remove the books was the right one.
I just believe some of those books just should not be in the library, because I know how kids are. They're going to go find those books and they're going to look at those, what's in there. And I just think that school is supposed to be a safe place.
Nancy Finney has been Nampa's high school librarian for 24 years. She was invited to Monday's board workshop to share thoughts and ideas on how to move forward. She says schools are a safe place and removing books could potentially be harmful.
Not everyone's going to like every book that's ever written. In our day and age, what so many people are living through is not necessarily a pretty, flowery, happy time. Some people are living through some pretty bad things, and there needs to be ways to cope with it.
She says a way to cope, being exposed to realistic life situations by reading and learning about them. She says not many know the vetting process that books go through before they actually make it to school shelves.
We look at age appropriateness. I look at award winners. I look at what the kids ask me to get. I look at a lot of different things before I determine which books to put in the library.
I wish there was more parent engagement, with my classes, with my students, not less.
Brian Coffey, English teacher at Nampa High School and president of the Nampa Education Association, says when the board decided to pull the long list of books, there was already a process in place for challenging books, one he thinks could have been beneficial.
The new procedure that was being used on a trial basis involved creating a group of stakeholders that included parents, administrators, and certified staff to actually review any book that was challenged. And the idea was to actually have this working group read the books to understand what was happening, summarize them, and make a recommendation to the board so that the board wouldn't have to actually read every single book.
But according to the chairman of the board, Jeff Kirkman, the process wasn't straightforward enough for him to vote against the book ban. So it's back to the drawing board.
But there's more to this story than just the idea that there's some language that's arguably or that's controversial or arguably inappropriate or challenging.
He believes a push to ban books is part of a broader movement.
The suspicion, because of how these things are playing out in other states, is that what it's really about is an anti-trans, anti-LGBTQ, cultural war issues, anti-BIPOC author issues. And I think, people are more savvy now. They know that they can't come out and say, you should ban this book because the author is Black. That's not really going to be publicly, actionable. So instead you call it pornography.
Monday's work session was meant to discuss and listen to different perspectives. So while no changes were made, no books were brought back, both Coffey and Finney are hopeful that maybe someday the books will return.
Will this result in more dialogue, more education, and the trustees actually read some of these books and understand what's really happening? I hope so.
I hope that people would not just look at a list of most objected to books and say, oh, this must be a bad book. Until you read it, you don't know.
Until you read it, you don't know. The solution to this obviously isn't easy. Some would say have the board members and parents read the books cover to cover before challenging instead of just portions of it. But how do you enforce that? Give them a pop quiz before challenging it? And also, some of these trustees and parents think these books are offensive and might not want to read them for that very reason, Brian. But according to staff, the procedure that they were doing on that trial basis was pretty promising, but apparently, like we have come to know, not straightforward enough for board members.
But you would think requiring somebody to read a book if they're going to complain about it would be kind of a given, and it still boggles the mind that wasn't a requirement before. I know they're still setting that thing up, but I think it's interesting what Mr. Coffey said about the real reason behind some of this stuff. And I think nowhere is that more evident than with The Kite Runner. This is a book written by Khalid Masani about a kid growing up in Kabul, Afghanistan. And to say that there were pornographic references in there is quite a stretch, to be honest.
Yeah,
and so,
a little deeper.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah, requiring them to read it as step one would be a good step one. Thanks, Katya.
It is a little early to say, but just to mention that as we look ahead to the weekend, it's starting to form once again as you look at the Sunday weather as rain most of the day on Sunday. And this is why. Anywhere from ½ inch to 1 inch of rain, that's a lot of rain coming in on Sunday. So that's what the possibilities are. And then the sun will come out a little bit in the afternoon, and then there's a chance of some thunderstorms later in the afternoon. If you're near a thunderstorm, you're probably 1 inch. If you're not, it's about ½ inch of rain, but it appears that this is the third Sunday in a row where we've had weather like this that's coming into the area. For this evening, if you look at Boise, there's just a few light showers out there, but I think it's starting to dry up mainly for the night as you look out here to the west. But then as we go farther out, you can see there's some of the storms that are starting to develop as we start looking into the weekend. So tomorrow will be 86. It'll be one of the warmest days. A little passing sprinkle is possible. Then on Friday, mainly sunshine and 90. There's a chance of thunderstorms later in the day Saturday, so your window is probably earlier in the day Saturday with rain coming in on Sunday. Scattered showers on Monday, and then it's going to be drying up as we get into next week. Got more when we return.
All right, let's get to your comments here for the final moments of the show. This one from Steve, who says, little, or the GOP calling a special session to consider a common sense gas tax relief for all Idahoans proposed by Democrats. Really? Does anyone believe that will really happen? Come on, man. Well, it could. Still being considered, by the way. Love the grocery comparison. I used to coupon shop years ago, and with today's prices, I've started again. Sometimes I've saved as much as $30 on a $100 purchase, says Jim in Mountain Home. Seriously, Governor Little, you want to play politics? How about put that aside for 2 seconds to do something for Idahoans for a change? Your surplus is because you didn't use all the COVID money, also because of all the people moving into Idaho and spending a lot of money doing so. Great jacket. Come to the Highland Games Saturday in Nampa. You'd be well dressed. Well, maybe I'll do that. Good coat, I think. A proposal in this state from a Democrat for a gas tax holiday. Good luck. Easier to blame Biden and then just move on, says Eric. And that we get a lot of that sentiment today. I don't think a gas tax holiday is the solution. People need to reduce their driving, not waste gasoline even if you can afford it, and vote for a change in national leadership when those opportunities come around, says Bill. So just kind of limit your driving and not go places, which is kind of what we tried to do during the pandemic. Remember that? If gas stations would lower the price of gas by 32 cents, heck, yes, pass a gas tax holiday, but I bet they would simply absorb it as profit, says JT in Boise. Well, we'll see what happens. Not sure that this is going to even get a hearing, but there's at least somebody trying to work through the fact that we're paying $5 a gallon for gas right now. We'll see you tomorrow.